Okay, in this video, we will solve 4 inequality problems. This is the first problem that we will solve, the second problem, the third problem, and the fourth problem. So let's do the first problem. So we want to solve this inequality first and then graph it. And so right now we have x minus 2 is greater than 5. In order to solve this inequality, we're only solving for x. And so this is pretty simple. I could say that x is greater than 7. I'm simply adding 2 here, and I'm adding 2 here. So x is greater than 7. And so if I was to plot this graph, I would get something like this. So let's say that right here is 7, and we're saying that x is greater than 7. Not x is greater than or equal to 7, but x is just greater than 7, so not including 7. And so if we were to graph this, we would draw an open circle here at 7 and draw a straight line in this direction because x is greater than 7. So x could be 10, x could be 11, somewhere here, but x cannot be 7 or less than 7. And so this would be the graph. And now we will solve the second problem. So we have minus x plus 5 is less than or equal to 7. So we could say minus x is less than or equal to 2. 7 minus 5. And this is what we get. But we want to solve for x. And this is very important. This is a very important note. If we divide by -1, we flip the sign. We flip sign. Meaning, now I'm going to divide by -1. I would get x is greater than or equal to -2. I'm dividing by a -1, and so I need to flip the sign. This is a very important rule that you have to memorize. And so this would be the answer. And if I was to graph this inequality, this is what I would get. So let's say -2 is this. X is greater than or equal to -2. And so we would have a closed circle. So I will shade the circle in, meaning x could be -2. And I would draw an arrow this way. And we can actually check this problem. Let's say I plug in 0. So x is 0. If x is 0, we say 5 is less than or equal to 7. And that's a correct statement. 5 is less than 7. And so that's the answer for this and this. Now in the third problem, we have x on both sides. We do something very, very similar. We could say 7 minus 3. So 7 minus 3 would be 4. We could say plus 4x plus 4x. So 4 is less than, so -3x plus 4x would be x. And so we can kind of rearrange and say that x is greater than 4. This is equivalent. And so if I was to plot this, I would get something like this. So we can say that 4 is right here. This is x is greater than 4, not x is greater than or equal to 4. And so we have an open circle here at 4. This means that x does not equal 4, and we draw an arrow this direction. So x is greater than 4. So x could be 5, x could be 6, x could be 7. And we can even check this. So we can say that we can say x is 5. If x is 5, we would get 7 minus 4 times 5. So 7 minus 20, that would be minus 13. We're saying less than 3 minus 3 times 5. So 3 minus 15. So minus 12. And this is a correct statement. Minus 13 is less than minus 12. So we just proved it. And now we'll do the final question. 4x plus 3 is less than or equal to 6x minus 5. And in this problem, I will subtract 6x here. So I will have 4x minus 6x is less than or equal to minus 5, and I will subtract minus 3. And so what I did here was I subtracted -6x here, I subtracted -6x here, I subtracted -3 here, I subtracted -3 here. And so I would get minus 2x is less than or equal to minus 5 minus 3 is minus 8. And so I could get minus x is less than or equal to, I divided by 2, so minus 4. And like the second problem we did, we got to take an important note. If we divide by -1, we flip the sign. And so we would get, so I would divide by -1, divide by -1, and so we would get x is greater than or equal to 4. I flipped the sign because I divided by -1. So this is the answer, and so now we can do a quick graph. So 4 is right here. It's saying x is greater than or equal to 4, so it's going to be a shaded circle because it includes 4, and the arrow would go this way because x is greater than or equal to 4, meaning x could be 4, x could be 5, 6, 7, and so on. And this would be the final answer. And that's all we need to do to solve inequalities and to also graph them.